Okay, so last time we talked about factoring by grouping and GCF. Today we're going to review a few of those problems and then we're going to move on to factoring using the AC method. Let me get some paper out. Okay, so let's do a GCF problem and a grouping problem just for review, and then we will move on to our new material for today, which is factoring trinomials. Okay, so this is review. So do these two problems. First problem we're going to factor is 4a squared b minus 26a cubed b squared. I'm gonna make that mess.
Is that times -4?
No, I messed up. Minus 4x. Sorry. So the second one is 2x squared minus 3x minus 4x plus 6. So on the first one, your GCF is 2a squared b. That's what they both have in common. The 2, because 4 and 26, the biggest number they can both be divided by is 2. A squared b and a cubed b. The most a's I can take out is 2. The most b's I can take out is just 1b. So that's why I have 2a squared b. When I factor that out, 4a squared b divided by 2a squared b is 2. 26a cubed b squared divided by 2a squared b, if you break it down into pieces, 26 divided by 2 is 13. A cubed divided by a squared, like I have 3 a's, I took 2 out, so I have 1a left over. B squared, I have 2 b's, I took 1 out, so I have 1b left over. And that's your answer. For the second one, we need to put it in two groups. So the first two, 2x squared minus 3x, the greatest common factor there is x. So you can take out an x. I'm going to take out an x from both of those. Left over is 2x minus 3. For the second set of parentheses, negative 4x and 6. The GCF there is 2, and since the first thing's negative, it has to be negative 2. So I want to take out a negative 2. Negative 4x divided by negative 2 is positive 2x. 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. And then now they have this 2x minus 3 in common. So I can take that out. And left over is x minus 2. And that's your answer. If you feel like you need a little bit more practice on grouping, factoring by grouping, good news is we're doing it in every single problem today. So hopefully by the end of today, you will be very practiced on grouping, and that should be one that's no problem. Okay, so we are going to start section 5.6, which is factoring trinomials. So this is one of the problems that's going to be on your comp exam in college algebra. Okay, so the method we use for factoring trinomials, you do not have to use this method. If you learned some way in high school that you want to continue using, that's totally fine. You will not be counted off if you use a different way. Every time I work out a problem though, I'm going to use the same method, and your college algebra teacher should be using the same method so that it's the same that way. We're using AC method. Okay, so the first thing we need to talk about is what A is and what C is. When we are factoring these problems, these are all going to be quadratics, and quadratics are written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So A is the coefficient or the number in front of x squared. B is the coefficient or number in front of x. C is the constant or the number by itself at the end. So for example, if I had like the problem 2x squared plus, let's do minus 3x minus 5. What would my A value be here? 2, the number in front of x squared. What would my B value be? -3, the number in front of x. And what would my C value be here? -5. Okay. Okay, so let's do some problems. Let me show you how to do it. I'm going to start on a clean sheet. If I have 2x squared plus 11x plus 15 is our first problem we're going to factor. Okay, let's start off by telling what A, B, and C are. What's my A value here? 2. What's my B value? 11. And my C value is 15. For the AC method, the first thing I do is multiply A times C. So I do A times C, which is 2 times 15. And what is 2 times 15? 30. So then I want to break down 30 into all the different options of things that multiply to give me 30. So one option is 1 times 30. What's another option? 2 times 15. What else? 3 times 10. There's one more. 5 times 6. So those are all the options that multiply to give me 30. Okay, so now I'm going to choose the option that adds to give me my B value, 11. I want it to add to give me B. So yeah, if you look at all your options, is 1 plus 30 equal to 11? No. Is 2 plus 15 equal to 11? No, it's 17. What about 3 plus 10? No, it's 13. 5 plus 6 equals 11. So that's the one I want to use. What I'm doing here is I want to turn this into a grouping problem. What do I have to have for it to be a grouping problem? You have to have 4 different terms. How many terms do I have right here? 3. So what I want to do is I want to take this 11x and rewrite it as 2 things added together so that then I have 4 terms. Okay, so technically, there's lots of different ways you can make 11, right? Technically, I could have written, don't write this down because it's not correct. Technically, I could say, well, I'm going to change it into 2x squared plus 1x plus 10x plus 15. Isn't 1 plus 10 equal to 11? Yeah, but when I go to factor that by grouping, it's not going to match on the inside because it doesn't work that way. I could do 2x plus 9x, right? Isn't 2 plus 9 equal to 11? Same thing though, when I go to factor it by grouping, it's not going to work. It's only going to work with one specific set of numbers, and that specific set of numbers is this right here, the 2 numbers that multiply to give me A times C. So that's what we're doing here, is trying to find 2 numbers to break this down into so that we can factor by grouping. Okay, so this 5 and 6, I'm going to rewrite it, my problem with 5x and 6x, because you have to put the x's on it. Okay, so when I go to rewrite my problem, I'm still putting 2x squared at the beginning. Now, instead of 11x, I'm breaking it up into plus 5x plus 6x. It doesn't matter which one you put first. You can do 6x first and then 5x. You'll get the same answer. And then I'm going to bring down this plus 15. Questions about that so far? Now I just factor by grouping, and it should work factoring by grouping. If it does not work, that means you picked the wrong set of numbers over here. We know this one works because 5 and 6 gives us 11. So when I go to factor by grouping, look at the first set, 2x squared plus 5x. What's the greatest common factor there? X. When I take out an x, left over is 2x plus 5. For the second set of parentheses, 6x and 15 has a positive 3 in common, yeah. So when I take out 3, 6x divided by 3 is 2x, 15 divided by 3 is 5. And now the insides match. So I can pull that out. 2x plus 5 times x plus 3. Questions about that? That is essentially what we're doing today. We're just doing lots of problems like that, and we're going to look at all the combinations of like if this was negative, if this was positive, so on and so forth. I did want to, while it's on my brain for a second, remind you about kind of what's coming up in the course. So I was going to pull out the schedule real fast and show you. Here we go. So right now we are here on Wednesday doing 5, 6, and we are on schedule. Friday, we're going to learn the last way of factoring. Next Monday, there is no class. And then we come back and we do review, and you have your first exam in here. It's a major quiz, but that's exams in this class. So this week, we're going to finish all the material, and then we'll come back. No class on Monday. We'll come back on Wednesday and review everything, and then test on Friday. If you are attending virtually right now, you have to be here for this exam. If you are tested positive, we can talk about other options, but everybody has to be here face to face for the exam. I will give you the review on Friday so that you have it to work through. If you want to spend your long weekend doing math, you're more than welcome to do that. So I'll give that to you on Friday. Okay, so let's do some more like that. Look at number 2. Let's do the problem x squared plus 5x plus 4. Madison, it's on Friday. And that schedule that I just held up, that is on week 1 documents. You can print that out if you need that or access it online or whatever. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is tell what my A, B, and C are. What's my A value here? 1. The number in front of x squared is 1. What's my B value? 5. And then my C value is 4. Jaden, why don't you email me that and let me know your situation, and I will respond to you. So now the next step is doing A times C. So 1 times 4 is 4. And then I want to break down 4 into all the things that multiply to give me 4. So what are my options to multiply to give me 4?
1 and 4.
1 and 4, 2 and 2. Okay, so then we need to add to give me the B value. Which 2 add to give me 5? 1 and 4. And so when I go to put those in, remember I need to put an X with them. So 1X and 4X. You don't have to put the X's over here if you don't want to, but for some people it's helpful to remember that. So I come back over to my problem. I'm gonna rewrite it now. So it's still x squared plus 1x plus 4x, and then bring down the plus 4. Again, the 1x and 4x can switch places. It doesn't matter which one you put first. The work looks a little bit different, but we end up with the same answer. Okay, so then you just factor by grouping. So why don't you take a second and do that part, practice doing that on your own. Okay, the first two, what can you pull out of the first set of parentheses? An x. X squared plus 1x. Those both have an x in common. When you take out an x, what's left over? X plus 1. For the next two, 4x plus 4, what's the greatest common factor there? 4. When you pull out a 4, left over is x plus 1. And so then x plus 1 is in common, and left over is x plus 4. Okay, just a reminder, when you're doing all these problems, that first set of parentheses, you're always going to be able to take out an x. There may be a number you can also take out, but it's at least an x that you can take out. This one will never have an x to take out. It's just a number to take out. Okay. Okay, let's do another one. I'm going to switch to a new sheet of paper. If I have the problem 5x squared minus 16x plus 3. Okay, so this one's a little tiny bit different because it has a negative sign here. Okay, it's still going to kind of work out the same. You just think just a little bit more when we're over here on the side. What's my a value here? 5. What's my b value? Negative 16. And what's my c value? 3. So I'm going to do a times c is 5 times 3, which is 15. Break it down. Give me all the options that break down or multiply to give me 15. Yep, 1 and 15. What else? 3 and 5. And that should be it. Okay, so I need to add to give me negative 16. As it stands, does anything add to give me negative 16? Not negative 16, right? 1 plus 15 is 16. Those are the numbers we're going to use, but I need to figure out a way to make it into negative 16. How can I make that into a negative 16? What do I need to do to those two numbers? If you made one of them negative, let's start off by making one of them negative. Let's see if it still works. Is negative 1 times 15 equal to positive 15? No, it's not. If some people struggle with the negatives, multiplying and adding and all that kind of stuff. And if you need to use a calculator for this, you are totally more than welcome to use a calculator for this to make it work. Okay, so you could test it out and see, is negative 1 times 15, that equals negative 15. So right now this doesn't work as it stands. Also, what is negative 1 plus 15? It's 14, so it doesn't work up there either. If I make them both negative, let's see if it works both ways. Negative 1 times negative 15 is a positive 15, and then negative 1 plus negative 15, that adds to give you negative 16. Okay, so if you're breaking it down and it's a positive number, your options are both of them being positive or both of them being negative. You just need to look at your b value to decide, are they both positive or are they both negative? So those are the numbers I want to put back into my problem now. So it's going to be 5x squared minus 1x minus 15x plus 3. What do we do now? Factor by grouping. Let's put them in two sets of parentheses. Pull out the GCF of the first one, 5x squared and 1x. What's the GCF there? X. 5x squared minus 1x. When I take out an x, you get 5x minus 1. For the next set of parentheses, negative 15x plus 3. Yes, I was about to say 5, you're right. So yeah, the GCF here is 3. Since the first thing is negative, you have to take out a negative. So I'm going to pull out a negative 3. When I pull out a negative 3, left over negative 15 divided by negative 3 is positive 5. 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. If you forgot to take out the negative here, your insides wouldn't match, and that would tell you you did something wrong, and you need to go back to the step above it and figure out what you did wrong. Okay, so now insides match. So I can pull that out. So I get 5x minus 1. Left over is x minus 3. Questions about that one? Okay, so that one was only different because B was -16, or a negative number here. So if you're breaking down a positive number, your options are both positive or both negative. You figure it out based on the B. Let's do another one. X squared minus 7x plus 12. Take like 2 minutes and see if you can do that one. We'll do it together. Okay, so when you multiply A times C, you got 12. And then choosing your options for 12, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Which one's going to give me -7? -3, -4. And so those are the numbers you put in now. And then you factor out, I'm sorry, you put in two groups first, factor out the greatest common factor. X squared minus 3x has a x in common. When I pull it out, left over is x minus 3. -4x plus 12. I got to pull out a -4 because the first thing is negative. When I pull out a -4, left over is x minus 3 because 12 divided by -4 is -3. And then they have x minus 3 in common, and left over is x minus 4. And that's your answer. One thing I wanted to say for the people at home, but also for everybody, kind of the way that, or first of all, the way that you learn most things is by kind of struggling through it first. Like the way you really learn something the best way is like if you're struggling with something and then all of a sudden it clicks, like you're never going to forget that. I mean, we can learn things and then forget them, that sort of thing. But if you're really struggling through it and like asking questions and get all those questions answered, you'll probably never forget how to do it at that point because you like put a lot of brain power into it essentially. So that's kind of what I'm trying to encourage whenever we do this. Like on that problem, I gave you some time to work it out. Like I wanted you to work it out until you got to the point that you got stuck. And then we work it out together and you can see, oh, that's how I got stuck. So next time I'm going to do blah, 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 blah to fix it. Okay. So if you're at home, I encourage you to take notes, and whenever I pause and give you a break to go ahead and work it out, like take advantage of that break and see how far you can get or see if you can get the right answer. And it's totally okay if you get it wrong because you can go back and fix it when we're working it out together. Okay, so let's do the one last situation. Real fast. So it doesn't matter what order 3 and 4 are in, correct? Yes. Here, I put in -3x here and -4x here. Did somebody else switch it, put 4x first, then 3x? Okay, let me just do it real fast and show you what happens if you switch it. You get the exact same answer, but it looks a little bit different when you're working it out. So if I switched it, if I put the 4x first and then the 3x, when you go to factor out the GCF, I pull out an x here, left over is x minus 4, -3x and 12, what's the GCF there? 3. Yeah, and I need to pull out a negative, not x, -3, and left over is x 12 divided by negative 3 is minus 4. So see how it looks a little bit different? But when I go to write my answer, what do they have in common? X minus 4, and left over is X minus 3. Is that the same answer? Yeah, I mean, it's switched, but it's okay to have it switched. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one you put in order. If you were working it out and you put it in a different order than I did, just know like this step is going to look a little bit different, but we should end up at the same answer at the end of it. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to what happens if this A times C is a negative number. Okay, so problem number 5. We're going to get through that, and then I'm going to show you a shortcut problem, or a shortcut way to do some of the problems. Okay, so let's do the problem 18x squared minus 9x minus 2. Okay, so my A value is 18, B is negative 9, and C is negative 2. I want to do A times C. So 18 times negative 2. What's 18 times negative 2? Negative 36. Okay, I'm going to forget about the negative for a minute. I'm just going to focus on 36. Let's think of all the options that multiply to give me 36. This one has a good amount of them. 1 and 36, 2 and 18. If you struggle with this part, some people have a really hard time getting all the options here. You can literally put on your calculator, 36 divided by 2 is 18. So 2 times 18 is 36. 36 divided by 3 is 12. So 3 and 12. 36 divided by 4. 9, so 4 and 9. If I did 36 divided by 5, it gives me a decimal. Is that an option of things to multiply? No. And then 36 divided by 6 is 6 times 6. Once I get to the same number, like I don't need to keep on going. I don't need to divide by 7 or by 8 because there's no more factors at that point. Okay, so before I was looking for things to add to give 9. This is a little bit different. And the reason why it's a little bit different is because it's negative 36. To multiply to get a negative number, what kind of numbers do you have to have? One negative and one positive. Okay. So like if I was starting off with this 1 and 36, if I just made them both negative, like negative 1 and negative 36 times negative 36, you get a positive, which isn't what we have. So in this case, all of them, all the sets have to have one negative number. I don't know which one's going to be negative at this point, but all of them have to have at least one negative number. So when you're thinking through this, the way to kind of work through that to find this negative 9, essentially you're going to subtract the numbers instead of add them, because when you are adding two numbers that have different signs, negative 4 plus 6, do you actually add the 4 plus 6 there, or do you subtract the 6 and the 4 to get your answer? What is negative 4 plus 6? 2. Okay, 4 plus 6 is 10. Negative 4 plus 6, you actually subtract the number and keep the sign of the bigger number is like the rule for it. So I'm actually subtracting to get the B value here. So kind of thinking about that, what two numbers are going to subtract to give me 9? The 3 and 12, right? 1 and 36 isn't going to work. 2 and 18 is not going to work. 4 and 9, 6 and 6, it's 3 and 12. I need to make that into negative 9. So you can kind of play with it. If it was negative 3 plus 12, does that give you negative 9? No. If it's 3 plus negative 12, does that give me negative 9? Yeah, so it's negative 12. And you can, if this is something you kind of struggle with in your head, you can use your calculator to double check it at the end. I know 3 plus negative 12 gives me negative 9, and 3 times negative 12 gives me negative 36. Okay, so essentially, if you don't want to have to memorize rules of like, if the last number is positive, this one's negative, if you don't want to have to memorize all those rules, you can just kind of think through it like that. There is kind of a shorter way to do this with some rules. If it's negative, you know that both or one of them is going to be negative. B, the sign of B tells you the sign of your bigger number. So since B is negative, all the bigger numbers here would actually be negative. So like 36 is negative because it's bigger than 1. 18 would have to be negative because it's bigger than 2. 12 would have to be negative because it's bigger than 3. 9 has to be negative. And then this one, it's obviously not the answer, but then you could like add them, like what's 1 plus negative 36? Negative 35. 2 and negative 18 is negative 16. Okay, does that kind of make sense? So this is the sign of the bigger number of your sets whenever you go to work it out. We're gonna do a few of these because this is the hardest one to do, to kind of figure out which option it is, but also what the sign is. Oh, we're not done yet. So now let's actually work it out. I did a lot of talking just then, sorry. When you go to put this in your problem, again, it does not matter the order you put it in. If you want to try to kind of think ahead a little bit, if you write the negative number first, that saves you a little bit of work. You do not have to do this. You can do it the other way. But let me show you what happens if you write the negative number first. I'm going to put negative 12x first and then plus 3x minus 2. When I go to factor it by grouping now, oh, look at the beginning of the second parenthesis. Is that a positive number or a negative number? Positive, so you don't have to pull out a negative that way. If I would have put the negative 12 right there, I would have to pull out the negative. Again, is that the worst, like the worst thing in the world to do? No, it's fine. I don't like taking out the negative. It's not very much fun to me. So I like to always put the positive one there. So when I go to work this out now, 18x squared minus 12x, what's the GCF there? 6x. So I'm going to pull out 6x. 18x squared divided by 6x is 3x. 12x divided by 6x is minus 2. Positive 3x and minus 2 is their GCF. A 1, so I'm going to put a 1 there. Left over is 3x minus 2. And then now I'm pulling out the 3x minus 2. And left over is 6x plus 1. Again, you can switch those two. You'll have the different middle step, but your end step should be the same, or your end answer should be the same, just flipped over or flipped around. Let's do another one like that. If I had the problem x squared minus 3x minus 10. What if 2 had an x? Would it still be 1? What if 2 had an x? Would it still be 1? Oh, this one right here. Salita, if this one had an x, would the GCF still be 1? Huh? Oh, okay. If that still had an x, the GCF would be just x, or you could put 1x. In this kind of problem, you'll never have to worry about that. But if it was like over here, you'd be pulling out the x. Okay, so your A value on this problem is 1, B is negative 3, C is negative 10. Let's just be 10. You're going to do A times C, which is 1 times negative 10, which is negative 10. You break it down and see if you can figure out with the signs what the two numbers are. I'll give you like a minute to kind of work through it. Okay, so your only options are 1 and 10, 2 and 5. It's not 1 and 10 because if I add, subtract, multiply, divide, do anything to 1 and 10, I can't get 3 anyway out of that, right? So it's got to be 2 and 5. My B value is negative, so I know that's the sign of the bigger number. Or you could think -2 plus 5 is +3. I need it to be -3, so it needs to be 2 and -5. So those are the two numbers you're putting in. You can put them in any order. If you don't want to have to factor out that negative in the second set of parentheses, put your -1 first. So x squared minus 5x plus 2x minus 10. If I factor by grouping now, two sets of parentheses. The first two, x squared minus 5x. What's the GCF there? X. Left over is x minus 5. 2x minus 10. What's the GCF there? 2. I'm going to pull out a 2. Left over is x minus 5. And then my GCF now is x minus 5. Left over is x plus 2. And that's the answer. Questions about that? Okay, I'm going to show you a shortcut now. There are some problems that you can do a shortcut on. So let's kind of figure out what those problems are first. So if you'll look back through the problems. Let me get another color so I can circle it. For problem number 1, what was our A value? 2. Our numbers were 5x and 6x. Do you see that in your answer at all? Not really. Okay, look at number 2. What's our A value? 1. Our two numbers we put in were 1 and 4. Do you see that in your answer? Yeah, it's right there, 1 and 4. Okay, look at number 3. My A value is 5. My two numbers were -1, -15. Do you see that in your answer? Not really. Look at number 4. My A value is 1. Look at my two numbers, -3, -4. Do you see that in your answer? -3, -4. Look at the next one. Oh, here we go. Number 5. My A value is 18. My two numbers were 3 and -12. Do you see that in your answer? Not really. Look at number 6. A is 1. My two numbers were 2 and -5. Do you see that in your answer? 2 and -5. Okay. So the shortcut is when A equals 1. We can write this down in just a second. Your two numbers you get, that's your answer inside parentheses with an X. So you don't have to do this whole step right here. Once you get your two numbers, you can write your answer straight away. Okay, so when A equals 1, your two factors, the two factors are those two numbers you get, go, we'll say go here. And I put in, it's two sets of parentheses, an X at the beginning, and they go here and here with the X. If they're positive numbers, you put plus signs. If they're negative numbers, you put minus signs. And we're about to do a few of these just to make sure you get the hang of it. If you forget this shortcut, can you still do the problem?
Yes.
You have a long way to do it. Okay, we're gonna probably by next Wednesday when we do the review, like you'll be doing the shortcut so often you almost might forget how to do it the long way, okay? Because shortcut problems usually happen more often than the long ones. Just a heads up though, the long one is the one that's on your comp exam when A doesn't equal 1. Okay, so let's do a few shortcut problems just to make sure you get the hang of it. If I had the problem x squared plus 8x plus 12. You go over to the side. What's my A value? 1. Good news. Shortcut. What's my B value? 8. C value is 12. I do A times C, which is 1 times 12, which is 12. I break down 12. What's my options to get 12?
1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4.
1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Which ones add to give me 8? 2 and 6. So my answer is, go over, open parentheses, put an X at the beginning of both of them. You put 2 and 6 in there. Are they positive or negative? So it's X plus 2, X plus 6. is your answer. A whole lot faster, right? Let's do another one. X squared plus 3x minus 10. What's my A value? 1. That means it's a shortcut problem. What's my B value? Positive 3. And what's my C value? Negative 10. So A times C is 1 times negative 10, which is negative 10. Options for 10 is 1 and 10, 2 and 5. It's obviously going to be 2 and 5. I need it to be positive 3 though. Negative 2, because the B value is the sign of the bigger number. That's a positive 3, so the bigger number needs to be positive, so 2 is negative. Okay, so now I can write my answers. What's my answers going to be? X minus 2, X plus 5. Put it in parentheses with the X at the beginning. X minus 2, X plus 5. It's fine if you put the X plus 5 first. Questions about that? Okay, I want to do 2 more because they're very, very similar, but they get messed up very, very often. So number 9 and number 10. Number 9 is the problem, x squared. Give me a second, I got to think about it, what the problems are. What the signs are. 5x and 6. If I did x squared minus 5x minus 6 and x squared minus 5x plus 6. Those are 2 very similar problems. Take a second and come over on the side and break it down. See if you forgot the 2 numbers. Take like 30 seconds. Okay, did you kind of see why this is a tricky problem? You're multiplying to get 6. Your options are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. We're trying to add to get 5. Technically, can't you kind of get 5 with both of them? 2 plus 3 is 5, but also 6 minus 1 is 5. Okay, so that's why this is like, there are a few different problems like this. This is one of them that's tricky. Whenever it's like, well, it seems like both of them work. So you got to figure out which one actually does work. To multiply to get a negative 6, are they both negative or just one's negative? Just one of them has to be negative. Both of them cannot be negative. So it cannot be negative 2, negative 3. Negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5, but is negative 2 times negative 3 give me negative 6? No, it has to be 1 and 6. Because only one of them can be negative. 1 plus negative 6 is negative 5. 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. So this is a shortcut problem. What's my answer to that? X minus 6, X plus 1. Look at 10. 10's the other version of that problem. So A is 1, B is negative 5, C is 6. A times C is 1 times 6, which is 6. My options are still the same, 1 and 6, 2 and 3. This time, since it's positive, that means they're both negative or both positive. So if they're both negative, which option gives you negative 5 this time? The 2 and the 3. So my answer for that one is X minus 2, X minus 3. Questions about that? Okay, so you have homework over this. We've completely learned it. Hopefully you feel better about grouping after today because we did 10 problems with grouping today. Make sure you're working on your homework, and I will see you on Friday. And talk to me if you have questions. What's your name again? Nathan. Thank you. Bye, Kayla.